is Business Rockstars.
Ken Rakowski, Business Rockstars, connecting you to entrepreneurs around the world, businessrockstars.com. Hanging out in the studio, he generally resides up in the Toronto area, one of the friendliest cities in North America. Jay Rosenzweig is joining us. How'd I do?
You did amazing.
See, it took me
You're
a
the
year
best.
to get that.
Thanks
Now,
for having me back, by the way.
Oh, it's good to have you here. You got I love the color of your jacket.
Thank you.
Now, apparently, this is what I got. Of course, we know your company, okay? But you have a title. Well, here it is. You are the world's leading boutique, high-end executive search firm. Did I get it right?
That is quite the compliment, and you got it perfectly right.
I got it right. I got it right.
Thrilled.
So
This place looks awesome, by the way.
It's a great
Congrats
studio.
on
Thanks
your
a lot.
growth.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. So when we talk about executive recruiting, you're looking at talented people finding a great new home,
Absolutely.
right?
And what I find is, I've been in this business almost 20 years now. There's three key questions that need to be asked. One, can I do the job?
When?
Two, will I love the job?
Got it.
And three, will people be able to tolerate working with me? Those are the three questions that candidates must ask. So basically, we're talking about strengths, motivation, and fit.
But let's talk about when.
Yeah.
Let's talk about when. So
Yeah.
generally, when somebody is hiring, they're hiring for right now.
Exactly.
You know, if we're going to do an executive search, we have a spot that's open. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to fill that spot right away, correct?
Correct.
How long does it take to find somebody that potentially will be ready for that job? Like for example, you. Someone hires you, Jay, we're hiring you right now, you got to help us find talent. How long should we really manage our expectation to find that talent?
If you're looking for like a CEO candidate, it could take 2 to 3 months. Sometimes it could take up to 6 months.
Wow.
So you need to really plan in advance if you realize that you're going to need new leadership moving forward. And you may actually need some interim solutions to come in and fill that spot while the search is going on. So it's a pretty involved kind of process, especially the way we do things. It's highly customized, it's highly research oriented, it's not all about networking and the Rolodex. So it's a pretty involved, labor-intensive process.
Because most companies, they do it the minute they find out that their key manager or CXO is leaving, and they start right away thinking they're going to fill it right away. That's not the case.
That's not the case. It takes a lot of time to, first of all, try to understand what are the business objectives underlying your decision to make this hire. Why did the incumbent leave? And what we do is we develop a research strategy designed to meet your business objectives. And if you take that kind of approach, it's a little bit more labor intensive. It's not about the database, which I find typically comprises maybe 1 or 2 or 3% of the deadly relevant candidate pool. But if you take that kind of approach, you're going to find unbelievable candidates, and your client will be able to take their business to new heights.
You said you've been doing this for over 2 decades.
Almost 2 decades.
That's a long time, right?
It is.
Has things changed where you utilize technology to find the people, or is it still hardcore relationships, knowing people? How has technology helped, or has it hindered?
At the entry level, looking for jobs and actually going out and looking for candidates has transformed in a very big way because of the technologies that we all have out there. But when you're looking for chief executive officers and board directors and very strategic kinds of hires, you have to do the good old-fashioned relationship work, the good old-fashioned research, but some of it is actually expedited because of the technologies we all have at our fingertips, including LinkedIn and the internet itself.
Yeah, but Jay, let's be realistic. People think, oh, I could just go on LinkedIn and find somebody. This is why I always believe a professional is expensive and amateurs a fortune.
Yes.
You bring in a pro because you don't want to have somebody that's going to be sitting in that chair over and over again that you hire, then fire, or they leave. You want to find someone that's going to stay there forever or as long as possible.
The most expensive mistake you can make is actually hiring the wrong person. So you might as well invest upfront to do things properly. So I'm completely aligned with your approach.
Professionals expensive and amateurs a fortune.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
And then often you have to hire someone that fits with inside the culture of that business. That's a tough one too.
It's a fine balance because you do want to hire individuals who fit your culture and fit your vision and values. But at the same time, you don't want to necessarily clone yourself. You want to bring people to the table who have diversity of thought, diversity of approach. So finding that balance is an extremely tricky thing, but when you do, the results can be absolutely outstanding.
I want to ask just kind of a crazy question. There was a term for people in your industry called a headhunter.
Yes.
Where did that come from?
I have no idea. It's
I like Executive Recruit.
It's quite violent if you
It's
think about it.
not a good name. I like Executive Recruit. But part of your function, this professional aspect,
Yes.
is retention. Again, bringing somebody in that's going to stay there. Because it's not just about them fitting in the culture, it's about the culture accepting them also.
Correct. And actually, we do a lot of work around onboarding. So our job is not done once an individual is actually placed. We check in at least every couple of months with both the candidate and the client to see if there's any issues or anything that we could mediate. We also have partners who come in and do very professional onboarding programs, PhD psychologists. And what we've found is statistically, when you embark upon this leading executive coaching kind of practice, that the chances of the CEO sticking or the leader sticking are way, way higher than if you just sort of leave them to their own devices.
Two more questions real quick. Highly competitive space in places like the Silicon Valley,
Yep.
right? I mean, there's a lot of turnover. How do you stay relevant in a competitive space there where, hey, I get a great job and all of a sudden another company pops up that seems to fit more of my passion? How do you keep people there to help them grow that business to fit within their needs? Because you're hiring people that are going to grow with that business.
Yes. I think it's very important as an employer to continuously motivate your people from a compensation point of view, from a cultural standpoint, and continue to innovate in ways that can stimulate your employees so that they'll want to stay and they won't want to move. But typically in Silicon Valley, the moves are very, very quick compared to in any other kind of sector.
But it goes back to your expertise. You know the individual that you are bringing into the organization.
And you need to onboard and coach both the client and the candidate in a very deep way.
Last question.
Yeah.
I said that you're based in Toronto.
Yes.
That does not create a situation where you're only hiring Canadians. I mean, you are literally on here, the United States, North America, the world. You are finding talent from all over the world, to get that right job.
We're bringing in candidates from the UK, from the Middle East. We're working with Bebop over the Hyperloop project.
That's awesome, actually. I love that.
We're helping them build out their board of advisors all over the world,
Thanks,
the board
Jay.
of directors.
People want to find you. What's the website?
www.rosenzweigco.com.
There you go. Thanks a lot, Jay, and of course our team for putting a great show together, connecting you to entrepreneurs all over the world. I'm Ken Rakowski. Thanks a lot for listening and watching Business Rockstars. Bye.